RJ here. We are hanging out at the Young Hollywood studio with James Blunt.
Hey.
It's 72 degrees.
So why do you take so long between albums, man? It's been a couple years. We've all been waiting.
Yeah, a couple of years, but I toured around the world for 2 years on the All Lost Souls World Tour, and then I locked myself in a studio for just over a year, so that's the 3 years covered.
I like that. You locked yourself in the studio. So it's been pretty intense while you've been doing this?
It's been nice to be released, to get out and see some normal people, but the result I'm over the moon with. It's this album called Some Kind of Trouble, and yeah, we love it.
Now, your travel schedule always amazes me because you're doing the album in London, but you're living in Ibiza of all places. It's not a place that you hear every day that people are going to, but you love it. You've been going there
it's
forever.
amazing. You should definitely come on down. It's a, it's a big Spanish party island, and yeah, it's kind of, it's a madhouse.
Now, it's known for its dance music there. Does that mean that's something maybe we're going to see in the future of James Blunt?
Well, I've been out a lot there and, picking out the well of inspiration, and you can see this album is much more upbeat and energetic. I suppose because instead of being the troubadour with an acoustic guitar, instead I've gone back to where I started, which was the electric guitar, and I've written on the bass, with the drums and the rhythm in mind. My problem is I joined the army, and then, I couldn't really travel with an electric and an amplifier. There was nowhere to plug in my amp in my tank. And so I was on the acoustic for a long time, but now I'm back on the electric, and it's really fun just to have that naive energy to it.
So take me through the process. Do you, going into it, say, okay, I'm going to make this more up-tempo, or it just sort of happens? You get in the studio not knowing what's going to happen?
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just knew I didn't want to do the same thing as I'd done before. I didn't want to repeat myself. That would be boring, and so I wanted to, find something that's had a little bit of excitement and innocence to it. And I walked into the studio one day, met this guy called Steve Robson. We were supposed to go for a beer, but instead I picked up an electric and I wrote a song called Dangerous. And it sounded naive and young and kind of like a teenager with a first electric. And I said, come on, I'm going to come in and record this tomorrow. And I did. And that sounded good. And those days turned into weeks, turned into months. And a year later, I walked out of that same room with Some Kind of Trouble as an album.
And Ryan Tedder got involved in some stuff. How did that happen?
Yeah, I bumped into Ryan Tedder out here, actually in California, and we hit it off, pulled out our guitars. Steve was here as well. Bob Marley also wrote on the song, which is interesting because I thought he was dead. Yeah. And the result, is a kind of California-influenced upbeat song called Stay the Night, and it's about having fun with your friends and not wanting the night to end.
If this is what we've got, then what we've got is gold. We're shining bright and I want you to know.
And what are some things you haven't done yet? I mean, you've done a lot in your life and in your career. What's something you've always wanted to do you haven't had a chance to yet?
I went, obviously I get asked a lot about whether I should go into acting, and I did go on a TV show once, which was filmed in Albuquerque, and after my one airing screening, they then pulled the plug on that show and it went under. So that's a pretty good indication. I should
no more acting in the near future.
Stick to what I'm doing.
Stick to the music, right? You travel a lot, so you're always seeing, like, hot places to go, hot new trends that might be in Europe before they're out here. Just what are some cool things you've seen out there?
Well, one of the most amazing cities in the world would be Rio de Janeiro, and if you want to, watch a movie about it, watch City of God. And then one of the most incredible places in the world, I toured, and I literally toured probably around the world and elsewhere, and the most incredible was Beirut in Lebanon, which you'd expect to be, a scary place, and it's got the scars of war, the bullet holes in the walls, but it's the mixture of Arab and Christian and Jew, the French influence, and and the most amazing concert I've ever played in my life. What
would you say is the biggest misconception of James Blunt? Things you just hear that you're like, that's just not what James is all about.
I suppose people listen to my music a lot and think maybe I'm a girl.
I love it. And on that note, James Blunt, new album, make sure you go check it out.
Cheers.